There's been a long-running theory that for years now, all of these quests have been leading up to basically the idea that we would one day have a set of these that can do everything this does. And I got to try the closest thing we have yet. Let's talk about it. Hey Meta, where is it 4 a.m. right now? So yesterday I went on a long journey up to Portland. It's like an hour and a half from where I am, just to go to the only Best Buy in Oregon where you can try the new Meta Ray-Ban displays. And if you've been following along the journey here on the channel, we tried calling the sunglass huts that were supposed to have them. Nobody in Oregon or Washington had any. This Best Buy is the only spot. I was able to finally secure a demo a couple weeks after launch. So we shoot up there yesterday. I get there at Best Buy and we have an appointment at 11:30 and first person in the door tells us our Meta guy doesn't get here till 12. Don't know how the communication there happened, but we walk over there and there's already another guy waiting for his 12 o'clock demo. So I was like, well, this is about to get complicated. But he was telling me he works in IT and he's interested in getting them as well. But he said this was the only place that might have 2 sets in stock. Luckily, the Meta guy walks out early and it's like only 8 minutes after my appointment was supposed to have started. He gets right into it. He pulls them out, he gets them going and he's like, okay, do you have any idea what size you wear? There's a small and a large. Luckily, I know already the large and these are too small for my face. So every time I put them on, they kind of scrape over my ears. But I knew, okay, definitely large. And he hands me the glasses. He doesn't do the wristband part yet. He starts just handing them to me. And I pick them up. First thing, I am shocked by how much less than I would have thought they weighed. They weigh a little bit more than these, but it did not feel like much at all in hand, even though they're much chunkier, they're much thicker. And the other thing that shocked me was when I went to put them on, they have these really nice spring hinges in them. So when I went to put them on, they were so comfortable, even though they were so much bigger, a little bit heavier, but they felt so much better on my face right out the gate. And you get to put them on while he's getting the wristbands out and stuff, and instantly it's already got the screen on. So if you don't know about these new Meta Ray-Ban displays, they're basically the AI smart glasses, speakers, cameras, everything we know, but they now have a monocular single screen on one side, one eye, and I could already see that screen. The second I put them on, it said, ask Meta AI, see the time. Right off the bat, I was impressed by the clarity in the screen, how well you could see it. And then he pulls out this wrist sizer to check my wrist to see what size wristband I'm gonna get to test these out. There's basically, they call it the neural wristband. It detects what it feels your hand doing inside the wristband to help you control these glasses. He puts it around my wrist and he sees I'm a top large size 3 is said is the biggest size there is. So large glasses, large wrists, of course. He puts it on, it goes behind your wrist bone and it has to stay there. That's where it's supposed to sit. So if you're like me and you're used to wearing a watch and you wear it down low like this, normally kind of around your wrist, you're gonna immediately realize you have to start wearing this thing up here and it feels a little awkward at first, but it's kind of like when your watch falls and gets stuck there anyways. But you gotta keep it there because they don't want your wrist bone to interact with it. And a funny detail already right there was he was like, oh, I have to make sure I go into the phone app and tell it which wrist it's on, because even though there's not a screen on, normally you look at your screen and it could be upside down. If it's upside down in its orientation, then when you go to control stuff, it's gonna be backwards inside. Something I would have never thought about would be an issue. So then he starts walking you through how do you control this thing. So basically, if you're used to a Quest already, or even if you have a set of Ray-Bans, it's different than what you're expecting. You put your hand out in front of you, you put your thumb down on this part between your knuckle, between your first knuckle and your actual hand, and this becomes a trackpad. You can swipe right, you can swipe left, you can move up and down. You fully navigate by rubbing around on here. Kind of odd looking in public, you're doing this. Not nearly as odd as some of the other adjustments. We'll get to those. Immediately, I'm used to hand tracking on a Quest, and he says, so I'm up like this, doing it, and he's like, you can put your hand at your side, you can put it in your pocket. Okay. Yeah. You can just like bounce around and people wouldn't even know. I'm like, hey, I'm replying to a text message while I sit here and talk to you. Exactly. It's kind of rude, but they don't know. You can have everything in your pocket, although obviously in public that might look a little weird. You're like fidgeting around in your pocket. I think you're playing pocketball or something, but you're using it in your pocket, and if you're good at it, you can hide the fact that you're even doing anything in the glasses. It's really a weird experience to suddenly realize this thing doesn't have to be seen by a headset, by a camera. It's just literally feeling what your wrist is doing. So that means you can have text messages, whatever you're doing. You can be watching videos. People around you aren't gonna have a real good idea what you're doing. Although from the outside, we've shown you other headsets on the channel that are like AR type glasses, and if you get close to those, you can look through and see the screen. On this one, people on the outside can't really see what's happening. They can just see that there's a glimmer of some kind of light in there. So far, the little I've seen of other people's reviews of these, everyone says that the glasses are cool and decent, but they say the wristband is revolutionary and wild. I didn't find it that way. I found it to be a little finicky. Maybe the fitment wasn't perfect, maybe the way I was using it, but it did have some nice features. So he tells me, okay, if you want to select something, you pinch with your index finger and thumb. And if you want to go back, middle finger and thumb. So that's like back, pinch, but it's kind of weird. So when you're doing this number, moving around through your trackpad, sometimes you think, oh, I want to tap like this because I'm already here, like a mouse pad on a computer almost. No, you do that twice and you're gonna bring up Meta AI, which I of course complained about in the moment. So there's one weird thing that keeps happening to me now that I've gotten used to swiping around here. I keep trying to push here to choose instead of doing this. I mean, I would learn to use it, I'm sure, but it's not my top thing I'm doing. But when you do pinch, you feel this vibrate at least. So there is some feedback in there that tells you, okay, I've selected something, which was nice. And if that wasn't there, I would have really been struggling a lot of times to be able to tell if I had grabbed something or not. So that was super helpful. And if you want to turn up or down the volume, up or down the brightness, you pinch and you twist. Which if you're doing that in public with your glasses on, again, this thing is not gonna be completely inconspicuous, but you can do that anywhere. You can have this down to your side and be doing this motion. You don't have to lift up like this in front of the glasses and pinch and twist. But as I was doing all this stuff, I was like, I'm really glad I'm here in a demo and the camera's on me. Like, this is, if I was in public with glasses somewhere standing there off in the corner doing things, I think it would just look really weird. One of the big features that I've loved on these though is being able to take videos hands-free, pictures hands-free, especially driving perspectives. Now, when you go to turn on the camera in these new glasses, it pops up with the display previewing what you're seeing live in real time, whether it's video, it's showing you all of it, pictures. And the weirdest part in that was you can see it in there and you pinch and you twist and it zooms in. Like through your eyes, it's a wild experience. It's still, you can still see better with your real life eyes through the glasses, but the idea of seeing a picture of life right in your eye and being able to like zoom in, that was probably the most futuristic moment of the whole thing and probably the coolest part. Oh my gosh, okay, that is wild.
Yeah.
The zoom, I've heard the zooming function is crazy, but like the fact that I can do this.
Yeah, that works mid-video too.
That is really neat. Wow, that is wild that you can just like zoom in on real life all of a sudden. That is so cool. If it only had a really good camera that could zoom a long ways, it would be cooler, but that was a wild feeling to just zoom in on real life and it's glasses. It's not like you're holding up a phone doing this number. It was actually probably the most mind-blowing part of the whole demo. So then he tells me, okay, the next thing you can check out live captions. So especially for someone, if you're in a noisy area or someone who has any sort of hearing things going on, you can turn this feature on and when people talk, it like live subtitles real life. And the interesting thing is if you're looking through the glasses at a normal height, it's really kind of like subtitles are typically in shows. It's like kind of landing across like maybe a person's belly button. So it's not like it's blocking your view of their face. But what was weird when I was watching back the video, he was talking and I'm reading it and it's like, I'm like this the whole time. When his face is like up here and I'm just reading. So it definitely would cause a disconnect between like you and the person talking. Cause a lot of times, especially I know when my grandfather was kind of having a hard time hearing, he started looking at people's mouths when they talked. But now you wouldn't be looking at their mouth, now you'd be looking like way down at these. So there'd probably be a bit of a disconnect socially, but it was really neat to see that. And then he took me over to the live translation, which was wild. It's got 4 languages so far, English, Spanish, French, Italian, and he believes, he said Japanese is coming. So we put it on and are very limited. My 2 years of Spanish back in college, just, they're gone from all those years ago. But we had a very short Spanish conversation.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Más o menos.
That's all the Spanish I know too. It's faster. I mean, it's still behind, but you could like be like, hey, I'm using a translator and you could do this and actually have a conversation. And it was cool because it's not super fast, but it did translate it. The problem is it doesn't necessarily like, at least so far, give you prompts of like, oh, well now how do I say Spanish back to him? Like I had to know a little bit of the language to respond. But then once we switched back to English, it just kept captioning his English speaking too. So it still had something that I could read to help me read through it. It's a neat tool, and definitely for traveling, it's gonna be a little, it's just not gonna be conversational like fast, but if the other person was aware that you were going to be using this translation app and talk through it, it's manageable. You could get through a conversation with someone or at least get some easy directions, whatever you're doing. As I was playing more with it with my hand and wrist, I did notice that the pinching really has to be intentional. As you get used to it over time, you might be able to get more subtle, but it was like if I just tried to do just a little tap or something like you might be used to, especially if you ever tried an Apple Vision Pro, it didn't always do it. Like I would almost pinch and then select by squeezing harder because it's looking for that flex in your wrist, I'm guessing is how it's feeling that. It was kind of nice though because you didn't accidentally tap stuff a lot of times when you didn't mean to, but when you went to pinch and then you felt the vibration, it really felt like a form of feedback. Kind of felt like when you have a controller and it vibrates in your hand, which was a cool feeling to only have it on your wrist though and still have your hand free. You definitely are pinching harder than you would think, at least for me and my hands and my wrist. That might not be for everybody, but it's like, it's kind of nice because you're not acting like a little tap isn't gonna do it too easily. You kind of have to be intentional. Then he told me there's a game on it. And I was like, We gotta try that, obviously. It's got one game on it so far that you can try. It's this ball geometry game where basically you have a ball, you have a destination you're trying to get it to, but what happens is it's ice physics is what he called it. So there's like a path this way and you have to like slide the ball all the way across and it stops at the next wall and you have to figure out like how do you hit each wall and stop till you get to the exit. Very simple, but it was neat to see that, and as I did something like a game, the more I did translations, something that I really realized was you only have that one eye, but you forget it really quickly. A lot of times in life, we don't realize our eyes are only seeing with one eye. Like this hand right here right now, if I look over at it, it feels like I'm seeing with both eyes, but my nose is actually occluding my vision of that hand. And it kind of starts to feel like that. You don't really notice that it's only one unless you have much better vision in one eye and you're having your blurry eye on that side. Luckily, I've had LASIK, but I do still have a little bit of astigmatism in this eye. And I wondered, would it be a little clearer if I had it on the other side? And with that, you notice the field of view is very small. There was a point in the demo where I walked over and I pointed at the wall to kind of show a demonstration. Like if you're standing at a wall, it's like, I mean, it's probably about this much of your vision. If I'm looking forward right now at like a normal wall, it's just this little bit right here is all it is. So it's easy to still look at my phone and stuff. It is a small amount, but the nice benefit about that for now is it's not where you're looking in someone's eyes to talk to them. It's not where you're looking down at your phone to read something. It's just off to the side enough that it's out of the way, but you can always still easily look at it and read it. I didn't get to take him outside like I wanted to, didn't get to do any of that, but it started at 50% brightness, which was more than enough. He took me and told me you can change the brightness. I turned it all the way up and it seemed too bright for indoors. But if I took it all the way down, the interesting thing in a normal Best Buy, you know, it's lit in there, but it's not crazy bright. It was almost impossible to see it at the bottom end of the brightness. So if you were in a dark room, it probably would get dark enough that it would be nice. And it has settings in there to automatically do that based on the light in the room for you. So you have the option of keeping it that way, or you can manually adjust it. I did want to go out. It was a nice bright sunny day. I really wanted to take them outside and just look and see if I can still see them outside. Gonna have to wait till we get a set in hand. Wow, if you turn the brightness down though, it is almost, in this lighting, in this room, it is like not visible. In bed, that would be, you know, obviously if you're in a dark room, it'd be neat to see what that would do. But yeah, you definitely won't have a large range of brightness. And for me personally, full brightness is a bit much in this setting. I'm curious, obviously outside, you know. The whole demo's 30 minutes, and even halfway into it, I realized it's gonna take a little time for you to get really confident with the controls, really comfortable, because I kept wanting to like tap to select here. So I would navigate through the menu and I have to go here and pinch and tap. And it felt like, especially as someone who had come from having Ray-Bans or someone who's used Quest, you bring some of your bad habits from it. So if these were brand new to you, you learned it the first time, you'd probably be fine. But for me, it was like, even at one point, he was like, turn up the volume, and I'm like slapping the side because I'm so used to doing that with these. You know, I'm waiting for the volume to turn up. And it's like, no, I could have just pinched down at my side and turned the volume up. So this is not, I'm so used to my glasses, how I turn it up. How would I turn it up here?
You can do it that way, or
oh, okay. Okay. That's nice because like, I feel like it's always weird when I'm in places and I'm like doing this and people are like okay, you can just be down here and you can just,
yeah, you can just manually adjust it.
Okay, that is really cool. At this point in the demo, I realized like the whole demo is pretty nerfed. They have it attached to a phone that's like a store phone that's on Wi-Fi. It doesn't have data connection. You can't try video calls. They wouldn't let you try anything that had you actual doing the writing, which I really wanted to try. I thought that was probably the most interesting thing I wanted to see. They only had the limitations of what you could check out on there, playing with the settings, the game. They had some music on there. You couldn't even get on Spotify, but they said Amazon, Apple, and Spotify all are on there now, but they didn't have them installed. They didn't have any data plan on phones, so you couldn't just go listen to anything. It meant that I did get to play some music, I did get to listen to some music, and it sounded like it was the same as these, comparable. If you haven't used these, they're good. They give you really nice, clear audio. Not getting much bass from these speakers being away from your ears. That's just kind of the trade-off. But even in the video, it seemed like it was still having a little bit of the bleed off that was coming down towards the microphone, but it's not terrible by any means. Like if you're in a car next to someone, there's car noise and stuff, you can usually listen to music and they're not gonna really be able to tell. But if you're like in a quiet train and you're listening to music, the person next to you will know you're listening to something, they just might not know what you're listening to. And a cool feature is no matter where you are, what you're doing, something happens, someone walks up, double tap that middle finger, screen turns off, goes into kind of a sleep mode. Double tap again, comes right back on. So if at any time you need to quickly get rid of the screen, turn it off, you just do that and it goes away. And of course for me, I was still kind of like bring my hand up and do it. Once you learn to, you're just gonna keep your hand down, you're just gonna double tap. It'll become second nature, you just need a lot more than 30 minutes to get to that point. Now you've got the wristband, of course you've got the same AI that the glasses have, you can talk to it, you can do all that, but it really does change how the AI feels when now you can see it in here. He said most people were asking it, what's the weather? I tried a few random weird things. Hey Meta, who's in front of me? Okay, that's interesting. Hey Meta, do I need to trim my fingernails? It still does the old thing these do where it takes a picture, but now you see the picture and then it talks you through it. It said that my fingernails were at a very comfortable length. But that obviously anyone who, it's personal preference, whether you want to keep them short or not. I thought that was just such a random question to ask, but we asked the weather and through Wi-Fi, it could tell we were in Portland, but the whole time it still thought that the time was like 6 hours before Pacific time. It was actually kind of a funny moment. I was like, what is 6 hours before? And I looked at Quinn and he's like, dude, ask the glasses. Smart. Where is it 4 a.m. right now? Seoul, South Korea? Yeah. Okay, South Korea, maybe these are from South Korea. And then I was like, I don't know if the Ray-Bans are being developed there or the guy said it was attached to a Samsung phone and it could be that's where Samsung is based. So that might be why it was still stuck in that time zone. But it knew through Wi-Fi we were in Portland. Again, it kind of leans back to the whole, it was being nerfed for this demo a little bit. It's where like it didn't even have the right time on the screen. But he did let me play around with the case a little bit too to show me how that worked because if you have a set of these, the case is big, it's chunky. These fit in really nice and it charges them. But typically I don't take the case with me unless I have a backpack because I don't have anywhere to put something that big, so I'm limited to the battery life I have on these. Where these new Ray-Bans, the displays are supposed to have 6 hours of moderate use, whatever that means. I don't know how much that means about having the screen on or not. The case gives you another 4 charges, meaning you get 24 hours total. But an interesting detail, the wristband has 18 hours and has its own magnetic charger that does not do anything with the case. Doesn't hook into the case, doesn't stick with the case. So if you forget to charge that, you're gonna be a little dead in the water at some point. And you're gonna have to go back to wherever that charger is, whether it's at home, if you're traveling, if you're keeping it with you, but it's not gonna be able to charge in the case anyway, which I thought was kind of a surprising detail. It seems like it would have been easy to put something on the case to also emergency charge that if you need to. Didn't happen. And same thing with these, the way you put these in the case is simple because the case is solid. This new case, the way it breaks down, you can fit it in your pocket, which I tried. I told him I wasn't gonna steal it. I was just trying. But now because of that, there's not much stability to the actual case itself. So even the guy who's been doing the demos had kind of a hard time getting the glasses back into the case because it's like this magnet snap-in, push-in section. And it was interesting to me that even he was having some trouble doing that. A big question for you out there is probably, do you want these? Do you wanna get these? So I asked the demo guy, are you gonna get them?
Potentially. I'm still waiting for some information about like what discounts or accommodations might be coming through for us, but I am interested.
I thought he might not answer me, but he did. He said he was interested. $800 is not a small price, and he was wearing glasses, meaning he'll need the prescription model, which costs another $200, meaning it's $1,000 and takes longer to develop and send to you. But even doing this whole demo, having them on, the instant I put them on, I was like, they're more comfortable than these. I liked how they felt. But an interesting thing, obviously like this, like VR, one of my favorite things to do is show it to other people. Let them try it, let them see what it's like. So if I did buy a set and I want to show someone them, but they have a much smaller wrist, will this sort of still accommodate, or do you really need every band? The wristband comes in 3 sizes, and he even said if it's someone's wrist isn't gonna fit that one that you have, you're gonna have a hard time having them demo it and trying it out themselves. Our friend VR with Jasmine, who has a set, I saw a video she made of showing some other people it, and what she did was she'd hand them the glasses and she'd keep the wristband on and navigate from there to help them see it, which is interesting that you can do that. You don't think about the fact, oh, now it gives me control over it from a distance, but it also was probably because she's probably wearing the small or the medium one, and it's not necessarily gonna fit everyone she hands it to. A couple of you asked questions. We're gonna make some more videos, get some more details from someone who actually has a pair to really answer those questions, but I did try to ask some of yours there. Someone asked, what do you think about riding a bike on them? He said that already the navigation is set up to walk and ride bikes, but that someone in Portland had reported that Portland didn't have it rolled out yet, which seems to be the story of a lot of stuff with these glasses so far. He even said the developer kits aren't coming out till December. So basically you're stuck with whatever Meta's done so far and you're waiting on whatever's coming, which overall made them feel very early, still kind of prototypey. It was cool. But as the demo came to an end, I asked, well, what can I do? If I want to buy these right now, because I was hoping there were still sets in stock. He said they don't have any in stock. He said that if you ordered them that day, most people had reported back they're getting their notifications from Best Buy in about 3 weeks, but they were guaranteed to get them by December 30th no matter what. So even if I had bought them, I could be waiting till the end of the year to get them. and hoping that they would come in 3 weeks. So at that point I was like, all right, let's get this thing off me. Remove the wristband. That was a weird, I looked at it and I was like, how do I do this? You unsnap, obviously one part's magnetic, but there's a weird hinge on it that you have to like pinch, and then you have to kind of like pull because there's these ridges that hold it in place. They really don't want you to drop it, I'm sure. I don't know how fragile it is, but he even had to like kind of show me how to do it. And he said everyone was having a problem taking it off. Like a wristwatch, you're gonna get used to that, but it was just kind of surprising because as someone who always wears watches or something, it just felt completely foreign, the way that it attached to you. And then as someone who owned Ray-Bans, I noticed they put the power switch in a different spot. They put it underneath instead of where we're used to on the inside. And then the form factor, if you're putting them on, they look pretty much like normal glasses. But if you get close, if someone's real close to you, they can see the actual wires inside of the screen. We got a close up, you'll be able to see that here on screen, but there's like, it looked like 6 to 10 little wires off to the side, which even with the glass on, you could kind of see if you were really looking for them. But then the screen that was there was really invisible unless it was turned off. But another interesting detail I noticed was that in between things, it would switch to like this hazy loading screen, which was kind of funny. It begged the question, like, why doesn't it just like go off for a second? Like, we're so used to TVs have to have a loading screen or computers have to have a loading screen. Maybe they didn't think about that, but I'm like, you would save battery life, I would think, if during a load or a wait time, it would go down, but then maybe people would think, oh no, it's shut off, it's not working. So in between screens, there is a little bit of a haze in it, I see. You know, a lot of weird things have to go into that in product development, like what are people gonna think based on other products they use? But it was just interesting to me that it's like, it's switching from screen to screen, and it just became this hazy, milky outline, and I could see exactly where the screen ended when it did that. And it was like, why is this the detail? I even said in the demo that I was like, I just wanna keep playing with this, I wanna play with these all day. I was really sad they didn't have a set for me to take because I was really interested in continuing to play with them. But overall, I stepped outside, we did some final thoughts, and I was like, man, if I was not a reviewer, if I wasn't trying to take these out and talk to them with all of you, that demo would not have sold me on them. Just finished the Ray-Ban demo. Unfortunately, couldn't get them on the spot, even though the guy behind us, he said he'd like checked on Reddit and it looked like they had some of the black pairs in stock. The guy said we could order them. Might be 3 weeks, it's guaranteed basically by the end of the year. But there is, I mean, that's their guarantee. He said most people are getting them in about 3 weeks. That said, he had, and it was pretty nerfed. There was a lot of things we wanted to try, the writing, the handwriting, the feeling of that, the video calls, couldn't do any of that. It's very basic demo. And honestly, not the best demo if they're trying to sell them, because even for me, who came here really hoping to get a pair, the demo did not push me over the edge. Again, I can't do a full review. This is really a very mild first impressions, basically, because it was only that 30-minute demo. And even as someone who really wants them, I could have taken them with me a day, I would have bought them. Only because I'd be reviewing them for all of you, sharing them with all of you, and I don't have that option. If I was just a regular consumer and I tried that demo and I didn't know everything about it, might still not have bought them, even if they had them on hand, unless they had a really good return policy. So it definitely doesn't feel like the demo is going to do it enough justice for the average consumer, but most everybody who's trying to buy them right now is probably journalists, tech enthusiasts. The guy behind us was in IT, and he said he really only wanted to get the SDK for it, which the guy said was going to be available in December. So maybe it's because I come from using the regular Ray-Bans and I have a Quest and I've used AR glasses. Maybe I'm a bit spoiled, but the demo was nerfed enough. I didn't get to try a video chat. I didn't get to try writing with it, that I was not $800 sold on buying it. It really only would have been to review and then probably learn how to continue to use them myself here, but it wasn't compelling as a consumer enough to buy the set. That's where I feel like, I know they probably didn't produce enough or it was probably impossible, but having them on hand will help a lot of people buy them, because a lot of people go home and they're gonna think twice, for now I think, about buying it, until they hear more, see more. But it did bring up another weird question to me, because I've been hanging out with Riley, he's part of the whole VR zone thing a lot, and he is a big believer in Google Glass. He had them back in the day, he loved them, and I was like, man, I wish Riley would try this, because I wanna know from someone who had Google Glass back in the day, is this better? Or does this feel like Google Glass was even better? It was just awkward looking. The form factor was too nerdy for people. I don't know. But 30 minutes was a good amount of time. We got to learn a lot so far. We are planning on continuing to answer your questions. We're gonna do a little question series, so drop any questions you have down in the comments below. If you'll make sure the word Ray is somewhere in there so I can find him in a search. VR with Jasmine, who owns a set, said she'd jump into a call with me and help, because she's been using them for a couple weeks now. Help get all your questions answered, so make sure you drop them below. I'm interested, I'm hoping to get them. A certain big channel supporter said they might help us get them, so we'll see how that goes, and hopefully have a set in a few weeks. But in the meantime, we're still gonna answer all your questions as best as we can, so drop them down below. But once again, I just want to say thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in another reality.